Tucked in the heart of the Bradshaw Mountains, way up high in the Arizona desert, is the tiny town of Crown King, a place where trees outnumber people and the locals know each other by name.
I've lived here full-time about 7 years, a very close-knit community. It's almost like a family.
Often called quad country for a reason, the roads are mostly dirt, but the views, oh my. Find a peak on the outside of town and you can see for miles. You don't find this in the city.
You're just closer to nature, closer to God here. And folks that come here, it's a different lifestyle, obviously, than the valley is. It's laid back more.
Tony Elsa grew up in Crown King, most of his life spent in this community. The family has a long history with Crown King.
My great-grandfather came here about 1887, and he was actually a banker from Illinois. And he invested in many of the mining properties here, notably the Crown King mine, which the town is named after.
Back then, mining was king. But eventually it fizzled out and the town went through a bit of a dry spell. The population dwindled and people moved on.
This really was a booming area during the early 1900s and before that.
These days, Crown King is making a comeback, catering to tourists and families who want to get away from the valley in hot weather come summertime. Many of the old buildings are still here and still in use. The old red schoolhouse was built back in 1917, and every year a handful of kids go to school here. It also serves as a town library.
My first year in grade school here at the school, which I graduated from after 8 years, but was 1946. And I think we had 27 kids in school when I was in first grade.
The school doesn't have nearly that many now, but the teacher-to-student ratio is probably one of the best in the state. And how many other schools are just a stone's throw from a real Western saloon?
The building is over 100 years old. It was brought up here, actually dismantled and brought up here on the backs of mules from Orabel.
The old place has since been refurbished, but it still serves as a town gathering spot, where you can grab a beer and some food, play some pool, or just kick back and listen to some music on the jukebox. A brothel back in the day, visitors can check out old photos of the men and women who helped settle the town. A place some of the locals call Paradise in the Pines.
There's just no place like home. That's the bottom line of it.
Crown King may never see the glory days of the years gone by, but the people up here like it just the way it is.
See ya, Amy! See ya!
Friendly, beautiful, and 5,000 feet closer to heaven. Arizona Highways Television is brought to you by Arizona Public Service and the Arizona Office of Tourism. When you think of a train, do you really think about a slow, cool, scenic nature ride on the rails through rugged yet beautiful country? I admit I didn't, but that was before I took the last train to Clarksdale on the Verde Canyon Railroad.
It's Arizona's longest running nature show, and that's because we give people the opportunity to not only see the eagles, but great blue herons, red-tailed hawks, javelinas, deer. We're just really fortunate that this is a place where all animals and wildlife feel safe and the river is still nourishing them and nobody's there to bother them.
On any given day, people on board the train can see red-tailed hawks and elk and deer. But everyone on board is on a quest to see the magnificent bald eagle.
Eagle Watch has been going on in our canyon since we started the train in fall of 1990.
This stretch of the Verde River is home of 3 of our bald eagle breeding areas. So that means 6 adults that we very well may see today.
Kenneth Jacobson is the bald eagle management coordinator for the Arizona Game and Fish Department. He says the eagles are in a perfect habitat next to the Verde Canyon Railway.
First of all, the eagle's diet is 80% fish. So we've got the Verde River here. It gives them a food source. So that's the number one thing that's important to them. Second of all, they have nesting substrate here. They've got cottonwood trees that they can build their nests in, as well as a lot of cliff faces in this stretch.
That's not only good for the eagles, but it's great for sightseers on the train.
It was pretty impressive. They're certainly close enough to get a fair amount of detail, and it's rather impressive. I highly recommend it.
I still get a little bit tearful every time I see one in the tree because it's rewarding to know that they're here and that they feel so safe. And people, young people especially, who've never seen one but in a zoo, just go, oh my gosh, it's a real eagle, look at him fly. And you really realize that nature is still there and everything isn't commercial today.
Arizona Highways Television is brought to you by Arizona Public Service and the Arizona Office of Tourism. In the shadow of the gorgeous Apache Leap Mountain is Superior's Main Street. There you will find a shop called the Copper Gecko, owned by Leslie Martin. Of course, every time I come into a town, I find a great place to shop. And it's the Copper Gecko.
Well, thank you. We have lots of stuff here.
Stuff? Well, what kind of stuff do you have, Leslie?
Stuffed fish, stuffed deer heads, stuffed javelina hooves.
This sounds very interesting. This is starting to sound even more interesting as I walk through. Well, first of all, this kind of looks like a little department store, you know, with different areas. I mean, is this all your shop, or is this kind of divided into other people's shops?
We have a half a dozen ladies here who rent their little booths. They always want to have a store, and they come up maybe once every week or two and put things in their store.
So you're like a dozen stores in one.
Exactly.
So, okay.
And that's why it's such a great variety of merchandise.
Well then, you know, let's get an idea of what some of the things are you have.
This shop, this is Tina Gutierrez, and she has come in this year with some beautiful handmade bags. This is her third season with me.
Oh, look, a stuffed fish. You know, I've always wanted a stuffed fish for my living room.
Well, you might be surprised to know that a lady, Sue Anderson, that lives here, caught that fish at a tournament at San Carlos.
Really? So she's like a champion fisherwoman.
When she retired, her and her husband became professional bass fisher people. They have downsized, and she has a whole garage full of wonderful things. That this is her third season here also, and nice. She keeps it full of miscellaneous cachinas and beautiful fiesta wear and fishing things for men.
This is kind of a westerny theme.
Yes, this is
very Arizona, very west, right?
Willa Ficara, she's a school teacher in the Valley, and she is changing out her home decor. And it is now here with Roy Rogers and all sorts of wonderful light fixtures and all sorts of little things.
The Duke here?
The Duke's here, everybody's here. And some people I don't know.
Now, wait a minute. So we've gone from the Wild West to
now
Hawaii. Isn't that so nice that, you know, we can just go across states in just a matter of minutes?
This is Nancy Vogler, something fishy.
That's great. Maybe I need to wear this with a cowboy hat.
This is pretty popular at Halloween.
Oh yeah, look at that. What do you think? You could dress up with that, with the skulls on your shirt like that.
She has getting to have a very successful online presence now, and she sells them all over the world. The Beach Boys bought some for a concert.
Ooh, wow.
She just has sold some to Australia to a band. So this one.
You may be housing a very famous fashionista here. In the summer, Leslie and her husband head to Montana, where she goes shopping for new merchandise. This is nice, Leslie. You have very good taste. These are beautiful.
Oh, well, thank you. Montana specials.
That's very, very nice. So what, you travel all over the country to buy things for your store here in Superior?
No, we travel all over the country, and buying is secondary.
So if you're looking for an eclectic shopping experience, or just in the mood to buy some unique one-of-a-kind items, you gotta head to the Copper Gecko, just off an Arizona highway in Superior. Arizona Highways Television is brought to you by Arizona Public Service and the Arizona Office of Tourism. Founded in 1876, Jerome was once the fourth largest city in the Arizona Territory. It began as a copper mining camp that grew from a settlement of tents to a roaring mining community of 15,000. Perhaps it's appropriate then that the first prominent building you see when you drive up those rolling streets is a testament to those mining days.
This is the home of James Douglas, also known as the Douglas Mansion or Jerome State Park. This building was built by James Douglas in 1916. It was used for a home part-time. He used it for entertaining guests and prospective mine investors and things like that.
The Douglas Mansion, with its smooth white adobe walls and classic pillars, was something quite unique for that time.
When the home was built, it featured things that usually didn't find in houses built in 1916. It had running water, it had 5 bathrooms, electricity, a central vacuum system, a billiard room, its own library, and servants' quarters. James S. Douglas originally started out a Canadian-born citizen. In later years, he bought this mine here about 1912, the Little Daisy mine, and struck a 45% copper vein in 1914. Big money. Back then, most copper mines were pulling about 8 to 10% copper. Today, copper mines pull about 2% copper. If you get a 2% copper mine, it's pretty rich.
People can visit the mansion rich in Jerome's mining history and get a great tour and a lesson on a mansion that copper built. Arizona Highways Television is brought to you by Arizona Public Service and the Arizona Office of Tourism. As you make your way to the Rim Country from the valley, many of you head out on the Beeline Highway right into Payson. Once there, you've got to make a stop at
the Beeline Cafe.
Because as you've heard me say before, me oh my, how my crew loves pie. And apparently, so does everybody else who's heard about the Beeline Cafe.
You've got to get in early to get the pie.
We just drove up from Phoenix to come right here to have pie, because they have the best pie.
For more than 50 years, that comforting Beeline Cafe sign has been a beacon for those in search of a friendly face and some down-home diner favorites.
We serve a nice hamburger, which is really popular in our community, and we have from shakes and malts. It's the old-fashioned soft-serve ice cream.
But it's a lot more than just the food at the Beeline. There are fancier, more modern restaurants. But let's face it, eating should be fun and delicious. It should be food that's filling, not only for your tummy, but for your soul. And you'll find all that at the Beeline Cafe.
I think everybody works very hard to make it a comfortable feel. I think we've had our customers, they say, this is like eating at home, even the way you're being treated.
Arizona Highways Television is brought to you by Arizona Public Service and the Arizona Office of Tourism. Sitting here in the middle of one of the largest ponderosa pine forests in the world is Coles Ranch here in Payson. There's so much history to this place, but as I'm standing here in this creek, the creek that runs right alongside the property, it's hard not to just enjoy the sheer beauty of this place. Coles Ranch sits alongside Tonto Creek in the beauty of the magnificent Mogollon Rim.
Coles Ranch Lodge has actually been here since the 1917 time frame, so it's been around about 93 years. It was originally a cattle ranch, a working cattle ranch.
It's rustic, but comfortable here at Coles Lodge.
We're situated on 10 acres, Coles Ranch Lodge is, and so we have various types of accommodations. We have lodge rooms, which are studio-sized rooms. Some are equipped with kitchenettes to them so that you can, prepare your own meals while you're staying in your room. We also have cabins, our more rustic cabins along the creek. We have 1- and 2-bedroom cabins. Those are beautiful because they have the nice big large decks and they have the jacuzzis on the decks.
It's easy to relax here, and perhaps that's why so many people make this an annual destination.
We have a lot of families that do come up for their family vacation during the summer months. The Thanksgiving holiday and Christmas holiday are very special traditions for some of the families that make it Coles Ranch their family tradition every Thanksgiving and Christmas.
While Coles Ranch is Western, there is also a romantic ambiance here.
Coles Ranch also, we have a beautiful pavilion area. We call it our Coles Ranch Pole Barn, but we also do a lot of weddings during the summer months, summer and fall. A lot of the wedding couples like to get married down along the creek and then they go up to the pavilion for their reception. In the evenings when it's nice and cool, it's beautiful just to kind of walk along, sit around with your loved one by the water. It's just a relaxing atmosphere.
Arizona Highways Television is brought to you by Arizona Public Service and the Arizona Office of Tourism. If you've ever wondered what it was like to go to school in the 1800s, you need look no further than the oldest standing schoolhouse in Arizona. Visitors can check out this historic log cabin school museum in Strawberry. It was literally built in one autumn day in 1865, when settlers formed a community log raising party and built the one-room schoolhouse. The interior was neatly furnished with neat rows of wooden desks, and it was not only used for teaching, but for community gatherings as well. Teachers back then did not suffer fools. If you acted like one, they had a special seat just for you, complete with special headwear and labeling. Teachers, too, had some special societal rules to follow. Teachers were required to fill lamps and clean out chimneys. And after 10 hours of working in the school, they were allowed to spend the other remaining time reading the Bible or other good books. The schoolhouse closed down for good in 1916 because there just weren't enough students attending. Today, you can visit and get a tour between mid-May and mid-October. Arizona Highways Television is brought to you by Arizona Public Service and the Arizona Office of Tourism. Not too far from the small town of Strawberry, up along the Mogollon Rim, is a stream that was given the name Fossil Creek back in the late 1800s. Some of the first explorers in the area thought the rock formations and vegetation coated with travertine resembled fossils. Starting at an elevation of more than 6,000 feet, the creek meanders almost 17 miles through the Coconino and Tonto National Forest. Sublime in its beauty and perfectly peaceful in its location, the creek combines the best of what Mother Nature has to offer. So it's not surprising the creek has become a popular tourist destination. Designated in 2009 by then President Barack Obama, it is listed as a National Wild and Scenic River. Fossil Creek is not just spectacular and gorgeous, it's something special. Arizona Highways Television is brought to you by Arizona Public Service and the Arizona Office of Tourism. In southern Arizona near the Mexico border, you will find the small town of Arivaca. Just off the beaten path there is Nancy Friccione's workshop. Her modest home is surrounded by her preferred art material, mesquite.
Mesquite is one of the most beautiful woods in the world. It's dense, heavy, it goes all different directions, every piece is different.
Nancy first began crafting furniture pieces out of mesquite with her husband about 15 years ago. After his passing, she continued with the art she'd learned from him.
These are some of the really big slabs. My husband cut this one. I've made a few tables out of it. It's really hard work, especially for an older woman. But I like it because I'm working all by myself mostly, so I make my own hours. Mostly I just make things as I want to. I don't make too many orders. I consider what I do art furniture. It's a useful thing, and yet it's also art. It's definitely rustic because I use all of the lines of the wood. I don't do any square things, and it's very simply put together, mortise and tenon, but it's highly polished and lovely. I prefer to just make things, simple things, benches, tables, end tables.
Arivaca has an artist co-op, and Nancy shows a number of her pieces there. She also shows her furniture in Tubac and in Green Valley.
We live in a very small, out-of-the-way place. People are mostly coming through during the winter months, so people stop at our artist co-op and see things. I have a website.
Barbara Walters once asked someone famous, if you were a tree, what kind of tree would you be? Nancy Friccione would embody the mesquite she works with every day. Rustic, not perfect, but in many ways, beautiful. Arizona Highways Television is brought to you by Arizona Public Service and the Arizona Office of Tourism. "40 miles south of Tucson, in the small community of Tumacacori, sits the world-famous Santa Cruz Chili and Spice Company.
We get spices from Australia. We ship to Iraq. We ship everywhere we can.
Walk into the old store and your nose will tell you you're not in Kansas anymore. Why? Because they don't have spices and chilies like this in the land of Dorothy and Toto.
You get used to it after a while. The first days it's really tough. Your sinuses and everything. After a while, your car, your clothes, everything smells like it.
A visit to the back of the store where the chili is packaged is the reason why.
This chili powder is called Anaheim chili powder. And what we do is try to pick it out when it's really fresh. The more orange it is, the more hot it gets.
The ladies at the Santa Cruz Chili Company are to chili what sommeliers are to wine. And they take their jobs very seriously.
Here in Santa Cruz Chili, we have a different kind of chilies. Ground habanero.
We have chili piquin.
Ground chipotle powder.
Chili chimayo.
Green chili powder. Brown chili de árbol.
Pico de gallo.
Chili tipín.
Guajillo powder.
In fact, the Santa Cruz Chili Company has well over 100 kinds of chilies and spices to choose from. You can buy hot stuff from the Orient to the Middle East to Mexico and the U.S.
I give people a treat you wouldn't believe. I have orders that come in from people saying, "Give me this, give me that, give me something else," because they love the spices here.
I like the herbs here. I can get a lot of different herbs that normally I can't find in Michigan.
The ladies of the Santa Cruz Chili Company really believe that variety is the spice of life and is the gateway towards good health because
a chili a day keeps the doctor away.
Arizona Highways Television is brought to you by Arizona Public Service and the Arizona Office of Tourism. Tucked inside the beautiful Sun Historic District in Tucson is the De Grazia Gallery. A series of old Pueblo-style buildings are scattered across a plush desert setting. The magnificent open-air mission in the sun was built back in 1951. A series of expressionistic adobe-style builders would follow, each one unique and distinctive. The museum, built in 1965, is a grand and colorful showcase to the Great Southwest. The walls are decoratively covered by some of the most gorgeous artwork in the region. A stroll along the cactus flooring and past the exposed beam ceilings lead visitors from one spectacular room to another, each one seemingly just as amazing as the previous one. The 10-acre property is now a spectacular tribute, immortalizing Ettore de Grazia's work. The museum is listed on the National Register of Historical Places.
Thanks everyone so much for joining us. I'm Robin Sewell, and we'll see you on the next Arizona Highways.
Arizona Highways Television is brought to you by Arizona Public Service and the Arizona Office of Tourism.